Hello YouTube, Robert Alvarez, the Psychic Witch, also known as Mr. Lighting and a Fan, and yes, I do have the fan on and I have my lighting. How you doing on YouTube land? So right now the time is approximately 4:20 p.m. Eastern Time, and the date is Monday, November 14th, 2022. The moon is waning in Leo and the sun is transiting in Scorpio. However, I can already feel the sun beginning to begin its transit in the sign of Sagittarius. In the meantime, welcome to the November 2022 entry of Llewellyn's 2022 Tarot Calendar. And of course, I'm going to have Drake, more commonly known as my awesome audiovisual person, for my YouTube videos, do a close-up of the cover and do a close-up of the back. We did the front cover, the back cover, and now we're going to do a close-up of the official entry. And yes, this one has a spread. And as is my policy, if I don't have the actual deck, I will use a deck published by Llewellyn Publications. So, we have the Moon card, and this is from the Cirque du Tarot deck. These curtains aren't motionless like normal stage curtains. They are alive with movement. This is a creative way to suggest the changeable nature of the moon, reminding us that this is an unpredictable situation. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Moon card. So the Moon card, and I remember this, and I would swear that I read this in a previous entry of Llewellyn's tarot calendars. The Moon card is very similar to the High Priestess card, which makes perfect sense because if you think about it, the Moon card, although it is astrologically aligned with the sun sign Pisces, the moon is prominently depicted on the High Priestess card, and the High Priestess card is astrologically aligned with the moon. Remember, in the major arcana of the tarot, we have traditionally 22 cards. Of those 22 cards, 12 are associated with signs of the Western zodiac, 7 are associated with the planets known to the ancients, meaning excluding Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, and then we have 3 elements. 12 plus 7 plus 3 is 22. I'm glad I did the math right in my head. By the light of the moon is often interpreted similarly to the High Priestess. Oh, it was here that I read this. Oh. I read it here. Oh my goddess. I'm glad I wasn't, I was like, I hope I didn't make this up. No, I read it here. This is good. Psychic connection, inspiring dreams, and otherworldly knowledge. However, be careful with the Moon card. The moon can beguile the senses and trick the eyes. The shifting light of the moon doesn't always provide a clear picture. Love the moon and her gifts, but be aware that she never promised you rationality. Fun fact, in Western astrology, a person's moon sign represents their emotional temperament. I've always found it to be a cosmic joke from the great goddess that my moon sign is in Aquarius. Now, traditionally, Aquarius is the sign of emotional detachment, and yet the Moon card is astrologically aligned with the sign of Pisces, the master of emotional attachment. And the moon in Western astrology represents how we connect to another person emotionally. So, you know, there are various things about the Moon card. I actually do not remember where I read what I'm about to share with you, but somebody wrote that interpreting the Moon card is almost like being a psychic drunk at 3 a.m. Now, as somebody that's never been drunk at 3 a.m., I've been drunk other times, although it's been more than 2 decades since I've been drunk, for the record. But I do remember I'm not gonna. That's another topic for another video for another day. Although some of you were like, "Come on, spill, bitch, spill." I'm like, "No, there's nothing to spill, really." All right, I'll tell you. So one time I got a little too tipsy on sparkling wine, and I went to answer a friend's cell phone, and the friend happens to be named Catherine. So I wanted to say Catherine and her last name's cell phone. And I kept stopping myself because rather than say that Catherine's last name, I wanted to say, Catherine Ponder's cell phone. This is Robert. How may I help you? Now, needless to say, I don't know Catherine Ponder personally. I don't even know if she has a cell phone. But I was that tipsy. It was just like I wanted to say Catherine, this friend whose last name is not Ponder, but I kept wanting to say Catherine Ponder's cell phone. That's why I kept stopping myself. I kept saying Catherine. 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 I know, it's hysterical. I was actually that buzzed, but then again, that's another story. So, I'm going to say something that seems very counterintuitive, which is ironic for the moon card. So, with regards to interpreting the moon card, take it with a grain of salt and know that it is not necessarily the full picture. And I would even say, take a closer look at what the transiting moon sign is and the transiting lunar phase. Because most tarot decks will depict a full moon. Most tarot decks depict a full moon on the moon card. So let's say that you're conducting a reading for somebody 3 nights after the new moon. So more than likely, around twilight dusk, we'll see the beginnings of the waxing maiden crescents, of the waxing, the crescent, I'm not saying this correctly, the maiden goddess's waxing crescent smile. That's what I meant. See, talking about being tipsy and I get a little flustered. No wonder I don't talk about that incident. So, let's say, for example, that you're conducting a reading for someone, even if it's yourself, 3 nights after the new moon, when the maiden goddess's waxing crescent smile is in the sky. Perhaps the full picture will be revealed when it is the night before or the night of the full moon. Something to keep in mind. A little tip for y'all in YouTube land. Through the shadows spread. The spread is called Through the Shadows. And of course it's so appropriate because we are in autumn. We are in late autumn, really. But we are in the tide when the veils between the living and the deceased are still very thin. I know it is after Samhain, the date. I know it is after Halloween. But remember, Samhaintide to the ancient Celts and to the ancient Gaels was a season. So we are still in the season of Samhaintide. The veils are still very thin. Obviously, they were at their thinnest around Samhain date, but they are still quite thin now after Samhain date. Tarot cards are great inspiration for creating spreads, especially since the cards usually hold solutions even as they define or describe issues. To create a spread based on a card, identify symbols from the card and arrange them in a way that makes sense. This spread is inspired by the moon card and is meant to help us traverse the shadowy realms that the moon represents. It is a 5-card spread. So an alternate way to use this spread would be to separate the suits: major arcana, swords, pentacles, wands, cups. I'm going to be using the full deck, obviously. So, I'm going to read the cards. Card number 1, which is the centralmost card, is the moon, or represents the moon. What is unclear or untrue in your thinking? Card number 2, upper left corner, the lobster, your biggest fear in this situation. Card number 3, the dog, lower left corner, the deeper pattern of thought that keeps you in fear. Card number 4, the upper right corner, light, what can help you see more clearly? And card number 5, lower right corner, the stage, since this is from the Cercle du Tarot. How to move through this time in the best possible way. So, as I mentioned earlier in the video, when I'm doing a spread, if I do not have the deck that's represented, I use a Llewellyn published deck, and I am using one of my newest favorite decks. It's called the Soul Cat's Tarot, written by Leeza Robertson, illustrated by Adam Oehlers. Adam Oehlers? I'm not remembering that correctly. Adam Oehlers. Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry, Mr. Oehlers. Adam Oehlers. So I'm going to shuffle the deck, and I ask the great goddess and Isis Fortuna and my psychic guides that what is revealed bring clarity and illumination, love and light, prosperity, peace and wisdom, not only for myself, but for the collective who is watching this video. A few more shuffles, and then I'm going to cut the deck into 3 piles. And of course, I will pull from the top, and the final message card will be at the bottom. So, and yes, there will be close-ups. And I'm going to actually have Drake do a close-up now of the back of the card design. I love this back of the card design. It's so beautiful, so beautiful. Card number 1, which represents the moon. What is unclear or untrue in your thinking? What is unclear or untrue in your thinking? The Page of Wands, where to go next with regards to your spiritual and psychic development, with regards to your professional endeavors, your work and career goals. Put you over here. Card number 2, the Lobster, which is in the upper left corner. Your biggest fear in this situation. I'm going to have Drake do another close-up of the back of the card design. And then I'm going to have him do a close-up of the front of the card design, which represents the lobster, your biggest fear in this situation. 6 of Pentacles, greater health and more money. Maybe the choice you need to make to leave that certain dead-end job leads you to an opportunity that brings you more money. Or maybe it brings you a greater connection to your roots, to the earth, to yourself, your core self, and thereby enhances your psychic development and your spirituality. Card number 3, the dog, the lower left corner. The deeper pattern of thought that keeps you in fear. And of course, I'm going to have Drake, more commonly known as my awesome audiovisual person for my YouTube videos, do a close-up of this card. This card is the lower left card. It represents the dog, which represents the deeper pattern of thought that keeps you in fear. The 3 of Cups. On the other side of you making this decision is joy, peace, and freedom. Card number 4, the light, the upper right corner. What can help you see more clearly? This card represents the light. What can help you see more clearly? 7 of Cups, knowing that there are many opportunities available to you. I've always found it interesting that traditionally, every cup in the 7 of Cups in most tarot decks depicts a different item. Now, just taking a cursory glance at these cups, I see different items. I see a ball of yarn in one. I see a lot of foliage in 2 of them. And I see one that doesn't seem to have anything in it. I see one that has 2 or 3 feathers in it. I see another one that doesn't have anything in it, and I see one that has a lot of, like a bush, like a little, like a bunch of herbs together. So there are other options that are available to you. And given that the first card represents the moon, what is unclear or untrue in your thinking, and it was the Page of Wands, I'm going to go out on a limb and also say that this is also about you exploring other options. Like, here's another opportunity for you. You don't have to accept X. You can say, you know what, I think Y would serve me better. So you can decline X, accept Y, and go from there. Or you can decline X and Y and go to AA, BB, and CC and see how well they will serve you. And that was card number 4, the light. What can help you see more clearly? So now we have the 5th and final card in the spread, which is the stage. How to move through this time in the best possible way. How to move through this time in the best possible way. The 5 of Swords. Know that there are many options available to you. Know that you are not locked into a decision. If you change your mind, you change your mind. If you choose another option, you choose another option. You don't have to accept just the first thing or even the only thing that's available to you. You know, not too long ago, Drake, more commonly known as my awesome audiovisual person for my YouTube videos, had an opportunity and he passed on it. And it took him about 2 months to wait for a new one. But the new one brought him a secure position of employment. It brought him an hourly wage that is a little bit less than what he's accustomed to, but it definitely brought him some perks that his previous position of employment could not afford him. And of course, there are new doors already opening for him, which makes me very, very happy. The final message card from the bottom of the deck is this. And of course, I'm going to have Drake, more commonly known as my awesome audiovisual person, for my YouTube videos, do a close-up, and then I will look at the card and tell you what it is. It is the Knight of Wands. It is so fascinating to me that I have done 2 spreads with 2 different decks in 2 videos in a row, and not one major arcana card has come out. I find that utterly fascinating. So this really is confirmation about focusing on the physical realm, focusing on the mundane, as opposed to the mystical, even though the first card has to do with enhancing your spirituality and enhancing your psychic development and your psychic connection. So, Knight of Wands, take action with regards to your spirituality, take action with regards to your psychic development. And I'm also going to say, begin a new practice. Is there something that you know would help you? Have you begun doing it? Why haven't you begun doing it? And more importantly, when are you going to begin doing it? And by the way, FYI, all the black cats are featured on the suit of wands in the Soul Cats Tarot. So you know I love the wands in this set. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I keep saying ladies and gentlemen, but I need to acknowledge trans people and non-binary people, so I apologize in advance for saying ladies and gentlemen again. Force of habit, I need to get out of that habit, ASAP and stat. So there you have it, folks. People, everybody, creatures, weirdos, queerdos, animals in human form, and everybody else in YouTube land. I want to thank Llewellyn Publications for publishing yet another edition of their Llewellyn's Tarot Calendar. I already have, as some of you know, the 2023 edition. I'm very excited about it. I cannot wait to purchase the decks that draw me the most from that calendar. And of course, I want to thank the Barbara Moore for writing the insights, spreads, and tips. And I am especially extra excited to see all of the astrological themed articles in the 2023 calendar. And of course, thank you to all of you in YouTube land for honoring who I am and what I do, and for honoring Drake, more commonly known as my awesome audiovisual person, for my YouTube videos and everything he does as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you to all of you in YouTube land for all the likes. They do help out a YouTube channel. For all the comments, which motivate me to make more videos and make more time for more videos. For all the shares, whether it's to social media platforms I no longer use, such as Facebook, or social media platforms that I've never used, such as Reddit. And for the record, I have nothing against Reddit. It's just that I've never felt called to use Reddit. I know people who use Reddit, they're happy with it, and that's fine with me. I just don't feel this overwhelming need to use Reddit right now. If that changes, I'll let you know. And of course, a huge thank you to those of you who have scheduled your sessions. And of course, to those of you who have subscribed to my YouTube channel. And especially an extra big and extra beautiful thank you to those of you who have scheduled your sessions, including the gentleman who is the husband of the lady who had a reading with me yesterday at Notions and Potions. His reading is a direct contact reading with me, which means that I receive all the money, which makes me very happy, except for the tithe. The tithe goes to the people and organizations that provide me with spiritual guidance and divine inspiration. And that's at least 10%, but you know how tithing goes and all that other good stuff. So thank you to that individual who's having a video reading with me this Saturday, November 19th, 2022 at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And of course, have a beautiful night, have a wonderful week, and stay tuned for the next video.